The United Nations predicted that by November 15th of 2022, the world population was going to reach the 8 billion mark. However, just by looking at the people in this room, I can tell that we are all different. But the world of sports has had a hard time understanding this, but more on that later. In the stimuli provided by College Board, Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela, Mandela says, as a leader, one must sometimes take actions that are unpopular or whose results will not be known for years to come. At the time, Mandela sounded irrational to the people of South Africa, but thanks to his efforts, South Africa is a country where democracy is the base of their society. Now, going back to the topic of sports, did you know that only 6.2 of Major League Baseball managers are dark-skinned or Latino, while 93.8 are white-skinned? This suggests that race and ethnicity have an impact or have a say in work opportunities in the sports industry. My name is Andres Baez, and I'll be talking about how the role that self-identity and background have in the world of sports. Consequently, my research question is, does self-identity and background play a role in the world of sports? And the answer is yes, and I'll be exploring this through the following claims: gender, race, ethnicity, and sexuality. But let's begin with gender. Only 10% of both print and broadcast sports coverage is dedicated to female athletes. This number is really alarming, but let's look at its impact. In a study done by Adelphi University of New York, we can see that for sports like basketball, golf, soccer, softball, and tennis, women always make less than men. And this goes back to the media problem. If the media doesn't cover these sports, how can companies be interested in investing in these leagues? That is why we see in cases like softball, players only make around $6,000, and in soccer, women only make $35,000, barely livable amounts. Moving on to my next claim. We have race and ethnicity, where the QAA back at the end of the 19th century tried to disbar all Aborigines from athletics. Their argument was that they lacked moral character, they had insufficient intelligence, and found out that they could not receive white eyes. But now, looking at a more recent example, we have Jerry Clarensenfeld, a judicial law clerk at the United States Court of Appeal for the Sixth Circuit, registered a case where he supported at a soccer match, chanted "death to heirs," and was arrested by police officers at the stadium. This shows the growth of the problem and how law enforcement has been stronger with the pass of the years. However, this problem is not yet solved, as we can see in these statistics here. In the 2000 and 2001 D1 season, the proportion of Asian Americans for all sports was only 1.4%, while non-resident aliens composed 4.7% of these athletes. This again shows how minorities are being excluded and sidelined from opportunities where either in job opportunities or professional or college opportunities. Moving on to my last claim, here we have the stimuli provided by College Board, the My Grandmother picture. And at first, and we can see, a mom holding her children in her hands, going through the Great Recession. And you might be asking yourself, well, what does it have to do with the following picture? Well, this is Justin Fashanu, an English soccer player who had some success in the English football leagues, but is remembered for being the first open gay athlete in England. These two persons sacrificed their lives for their loved ones. This mother had to sacrifice her meals so her children could eat, while Justin Fashanu sacrificed his life so future generations could live in a world where gay, transsexual, heterosexual, everyone is accepted in the world of sports. And Justin Fashanu's action actually did have an impact, as we can see in the Inclusive Masculinity book by Eric Anderson. University-attending men are rapidly running from the hegemonic type of masculinity that scholars have been describing for the past 25 years, and how this tradition is being passed on in generations. Just like Nelson Mandela once said, actions like the one that Fasciano did were not known for years. But now we can see the true impact that he had, since homosexual athletes are having way more opportunities now. But now let's go over some solutions and limitations. One solution can be to have equally distributed media representation. The problem with this is the time it will take for the media to adjust to this large change, as female leagues will have to make new deals with TV chains and streaming services. Another one could be found more international recruiting programs. The limitation with this is that these programs are super expensive to run, and that is why more institutions go and look for national talent, as it is really expensive to bring someone else from outside the United States. And lastly, and the last solution, we can have important organizations spread acceptance disregarding background or self-identity. However, athletes still might fear the hate attacks and acts of disrespect towards their race, sexuality, or their background and self-identity. This is my work cited. Thank you for your attention.
All right, 2 questions for you. First one, what information did you need that you weren't able to locate? And then how'd you try to find it when you did look for it?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What information did you need that you weren't able to find? And then, how'd you search for it?
Okay, the most hard piece of evidence to find how this had an impact on how sexuality had an impact on sports. I had to go all the way back to the 80s to find the Justin Fasciano case, so I could, from there, build and see the progress that has been made throughout the years, at least the last 40 years.
Okay. And what advice would you have for other researchers who consider this topic in the future?
Just look for history. Like the Justin Fasciano case, you have to go back years to really see where these problems started and see its growth. And also for the race and ethnicity, we see it all go all the way back to the end of the 19th century. So really begin by studying the history to then see its impact and role in the future.